Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining our webinar series. My name is Katie Lentini. I'm the Director of Channels here at FutureCom. I want to thank everyone for joining today's presentation titled Remote Workplace Security Assessments, presented by Alias Forensics and FutureCom. We know you're getting approached by several companies to join in on their sessions, so we do appreciate you choosing to join ours. A few housekeeping items before we get started today. Everyone's lines have been placed on mute, but you are welcome to submit a question through the chat or Q&A window at any time, and we will address those at the end of the presentation. Everyone in attendance at the end of the webinar today will be receiving a DoorDash gift card to their registered email address. We'll also be sending a follow-up email with our contact information. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and pass things over to Chris Boykin, FutureCom's CTO, to speak briefly about our services capabilities. Chris, go ahead.
Okay, great. Hey, everybody. Sorry about that, little technical difficulties going on here this morning. We even have those here in a tech company. So my name is Chris Boykin, as Katie said, coming to you from Houston, Texas, where it's sunny outside, and then it's going to be raining in about 2 minutes. So that's how it is. So today we're going to be talking about FutureCom for a little bit, and then we're going to pass it over to Alias Forensics. So first off, in case you're not familiar with us, I wanted to introduce you to who we are. So FutureCom is a company we've been around since 91, so almost 30 years, and we're headquartered out of Grapevine, Texas. And we're focused on cybersecurity, consulting, and the cloud, or what we call the 3 C's. So that is our focus. And some of you who may not be familiar with who we are, so wanted to kind of give you an idea of what we're all about. So right now, what I put on your screen, something we call our solutions map. You can also find this on our website, and we can send it to you in a PDF. You may notice it kind of looks like a network diagram, and that's on purpose because we're depicting the various solutions and where they fit into the network. And these are solutions that FutureCom provides to our customers. Every single one of these technology areas that you see right here is a technology space that we play in. So we either have a product there, a consulting service there, or even a managed service. So if you want more information about that by the end of this, then you're welcome to reach out to us, and we can do that. So a little bit about why it's important to have services, consulting services. I mean, there's no doubt that right now our digital world is very complex, right? We've got dispersed users everywhere, especially during this pandemic. You know, they're remote, they're mobile. Some people are still going into the office or just now trying to get back into there. You know, we've got devices and data all over the place in the cloud, on our devices, on our phones, you know, whatever. The cloud is a big thing nowadays, right? And people's data is out on other people's computers, sitting out in the cloud. And then, of course, you know, now we have the bring your device to work, and people's data is there. So, you know, with this kind of complexity, you know, our security profile and our security platform and where you exist and how secure you can be, that landscape is just getting bigger and bigger. You know, and on top of that, there's a shortage within the cybersecurity world as far as the you know, players go. So, I mean, as you can see from some of the stats that are on your screen, you know, over 62% of organizations out there say they're unsatisfied with what they've got going on cybersecurity-wise inside their organization. They are not able to staff enough people to maintain their high level of security for their company. And part of that is because just a lack of people available to do it, and, you know, lack of experience for those who actually are available. It's taken people 3 to 6 months to even hire a person, and a lot of these don't even get filled up. And they're saying just a few short years from now, there may be 2 million open spots in cybersecurity. So if you happen to know a college student, or you're raising kids or whatever, that is a place to tell them to focus, right? If they've got some technical aptitude, tell them, hey, get in the cybersecurity space, because that is not going away and we need their help. You know, another reason why you might need consulting services is just for efficiency, right? You know, there's the increasing complexity we have, the time that we have, the growing pressure to get things done quicker, faster, and for less money. And with the fewer amount of headcounts and budget that's out there, this is a huge issue, right? When these factors like this are compounded in this already growing labor shortfall, there is an urgent need for efficiency to make sure that our business can actually operate at an acceptable level. So, simply put, we've got to resolve this, and we got to resolve it quickly. We have to do things with less risk, and we got to do them quicker, right? And we have to try to figure out, how do we do this with fewer resources? And so that's where FutureCom comes in. We are a company that can provide consulting services. Yes, we can sell you product, but so can a whole lot of other companies. What we excel at is our professional services, our consulting services. On your screen now is just basically a quick portfolio of what we offer our customers. And this is not an extensive list. This is just a small snapshot of what we have to offer. But we do all kinds of assessment services, whether that be for compliance or just for general security best practices. We play in the identity and access area using multi-factor authentication, single sign-on, identity management, things like that. As well, you can see there, we do a lot of implementations for security products that are out there today, including network products and performance products. So it's not just about security with our company. And then, we have management and audit capabilities as well. So anywhere from doing vulnerability and pen testing, things like that, which you'll hear a lot more about today with Alias Forensics, which is a company that we have partnered with to do a lot of that work for us, all the way down to staff augmentation, where we can come in when you have one of those shortages. We can provide a body on site on a regular basis, if not full time, to help you out with any of the cybersecurity, networking, or performance needs that you may have. So this is what we really excel at, and this is what we feel is our differentiator out there in the market. Now, as far as the kind of services that we provide, I mean, a little bit of that was on that screen, but we do all kinds of things from design and architecture to compliance consulting, firewall assessment, health checks on the stuff that you already have going within your environment, wireless site surveys, all kinds of services like that we can provide to our customers. And as well, we even do some managed services. So if you wanted to completely outsource the service, you can do that as well. We've got multiples of them. One of our big ones is our human security program, which kind of ties into the company that we have here with us today, Alias Forensics, but kind of ties into that. We do have the human security program available with them. And then we also do managed email security. We do managed endpoint security. We can manage your firewalls and your IPSs and things that you may already have in place at your company. And then lastly, we have some co-managed services. If you're not really ready to completely outsource it to us, you can still maintain some control, and we will just hold your hand and help you through that. We find that to be, we call it our co-pilot service, and we find that to be a really good service for some of our customers who are short-staffed or just have new technology that they really don't know all of the technology and how to manage it, and so they rely on us for some of that. So there you go. So that's kind of who we are, and that's my part of this. I'm going to now turn it over to Donovan Farrow, who is the CEO and founder of a company called Alias Forensics, and he's going to tell you a little bit more about his company. But I just want to say that we used to do this stuff on our own, where we did the physical pen testing, vulnerability assessments, and all of these things. And we just found that it was much easier for us to come in and do the remediation, because that's where our expertise lied. And we had found Donovan and his company at one of the trade shows that we were at. They happened to be in a booth next to us. Got to talking to them, and man, these guys, they know what they're doing. These guys are white hat hackers. They've been in the biz for a while, and they do an excellent job. We've been up against for big companies. We have been up against some tough competition of some national players, and we came out on top with these guys. They found stuff that other people hadn't found. They were able to break into places other people couldn't do. And so we just want to talk about now, in this crazy world that we're in, of the pandemic and the work from home and all of this. you know, they've still been able to do some great things around their security assessments. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Donovan and let you brag on your own company and your own self. So Donovan, take it away.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. So yeah. So way it works is, so Alias, we break stuff. FutureCom fixes stuff. So it's a good balance there. So I guess kind of going through, I can just do a quick introduction. You can take you, sir, for the next slide. You can just hit enter through all that space. So it was founded in 2010. We're out of Oklahoma City, and if you can see, apparently I'm in San Francisco, which is great. So weather's here is not as nice as Houston, but you know. So it was founded in 2010. So we're doing a 10-year celebration September. So that's pretty exciting. We're based out of Oklahoma City. And then I was talking to their team. It's pretty exciting. We're actually going to, we'll be opening an office in Dallas. So in the next 2 months, probably. So that's very exciting. So it'd be nice to, you know, meet everyone that kind of come out, kind of figure out who we are. We specialize in detection, preventing cyber attacks. And it's more kind of like where the company came from. Obviously, the name is Alias Forensics. So we started in forensics and then quickly realized that kind of leads into incident response. Doing digital forensics, working over 1,800 court cases, certified expert witness. And the methodology kind of burns into incident response. So if a hacker does break into your company, we can go in forensically, what happened, what data did they take, if they took any, and also if we have to provide that to the FBI. We've done that on many cases. Worked many pen tests. We have pen tests that's network and physical as well. So anything that needs to be, I guess kind of the weirdest thing was we've done some SCADA stuff. I'm trying to think of the newest stuff. We've done like cell phone towers, which is interesting. So we've been asked to physically try to break into cell phone towers out in the middle of nowhere using different hardware, basically breaking tools, and 160 data breaches. And that means we get a phone call, we jump on, we'll be on site. It's anywhere from 1 to 3 hours, depending on where you're at. And we figure out what happened, you know, who clicked on the phishing email for the free iPad, and and we kind of go from there, and we kind of detail that back. So make a timeline analysis, provide that, and all our engineers are certified. Just throw that in there, and then we get to the next presentation. I always thought it was funny. You hit the space button for me, Chris. Thank you, sir. I feel like this is important. I feel like this is mostly me, but I did shave today for this presentation. So day one, which was great. Everyone was excited to get to work, kind of freaked out. And the reason why I even started this workplace assessment was within probably the first 2 or 3 weeks, we got calls. Everyone was getting compromised. We had 4 ransomware cases and 1 data breach. So what was happening was we were getting, everyone was spanning for VPN, trying to reach out to the, you know, basically making the risk to everyone's house. So what we did from that, we had a lot of companies call us. They got ransomware. I think it was anywhere from a small company of like 20 people, and we had another big energy company that is $3.8 billion got compromised. And so we had to quickly respond. It was kind of super scary for them, because not only did the COVID-19 hit, they also, all their data was locked up and they didn't have any backups. So we were able to kind of get there, actually, I would say resurrect that company, and obviously they still exist today and no one lost their job. So when we were kind of going through these exercises, it happened really quick. The remote workplace assessment was something that we offered just as kind of like a service to the community. And from that, we had 28 companies come to us and ask for assistance. What it does is we actually just get your external scope, right? So what do you have connected to the internet? How does it play inside to your group, whether it's VPN, you have dark fiber, you know, what is your connection, you know, globally or even, you know, nationally? So we kind of take that, we see if we can find any type of compromise that could do leaks. One, I guess the biggest hits that we got in this was for a client that had, I guess for some reason, someone was doing coding and they left the remote access tool information on, I guess somehow it was on a pastebin site. We were able to scrape that and get their credentials. The company didn't get compromised, but they were really scared to know that it was out there. We don't know why it was there, but it was. So we kind of do like a data sweep of the internet. We also see if there's any random ports When people immediately just decided to work from home, they threw in a lot of new hardware, which makes sense because they didn't have the licensing or the correct software, and they had a lot of ports that shouldn't have been open. So us evaluating that and kind of explaining how a hacker could compromise an environment and also just take control of the company. It's been very successful. So we kind of spun that as a new service, and it's a pretty lightweight service. The cost is minimal. So it's kind of just getting like a cool health check externally to figure out exactly what's kind of going on with your group and what's the exposure of that group externally to the internet. Let me hit the next slide, Chris. Thank you, sir. All right. All right. So remote workplace assessment, again, kind of what to look for. I did that wrong. So what do we look for? Kind of explain like open ports. We do perform like port scanning. We do perform vulnerability scan. We also do any type of, we had another client that wants to do a phishing email because that's been pretty intense. A lot of people are at home. I think they're, distracted, which makes sense. I have my kids, if you haven't heard, they've been knocking on my door about 4 times right now. I'm sure it's something super important. I'm sure someone's hungry. So being distracted, and what people do is they're not in the work mode, and they've been able to be compromised through these different emails and stuff. So it's been interesting to see how people are getting compromised differently. So we're using those techniques from hackers we're seeing daily to help better protect clients. The time frame, what we do, kind of again working with FutureCom, the best part for us is once we do the assessment, so we see how we can break in, what would be the highest risk. We don't give you a full list of a whole bunch of everything. What I like to do when we give these is a top-down approach. Like, this is the most likely one that could happen, and as we go down, the ones you can fix. And we just, that's not our bread and butter. That would be something that FutureCom can help you with. Again, we break this stuff, they fix the stuff. So having that partnership has been really dynamic for us, and could also help you guys out. We do that obviously with the pen testing, the vulnerability assessments, the all different types of audits. It's been a good build for that, and providing this new service has been awesome. I know that even a lot of our competitors, I know it's a good idea because they're starting to copy it. So, so you heard it here first. But again, we did it as a reaction to the market, and something that we wanted to help give back, because we didn't want hackers taking advantage of people in an emotional state. And I only know that we kind of take that like philosophical. So we do a lot of social engineering. Social engineering really bases down to a human vulnerability. And when people aren't thinking clearly, they're not seeing how the environment moves, and they're distracted, that's when you can get taken advantage of. Even people that have been working in the industry for 20 years, if they're they're not thinking logically the way they typically do, they can easily be taken advantage of. And that's what we tried to do, to make that an attention point before people start getting their company taken advantage of. So that's kind of the overall scope of it. The engagement lasts, we were turning around pretty quick. Now it's anywhere probably from like 3 to 5 days. And that's just us kind of walking that slow. If it needs to be turned around quickly, we can. When we were in full COVID-19 lockdown, we were turning those around in 2 days, just because the longer we were waiting, the worse, more people were getting compromised. So again, having us in Oklahoma City, and obviously we do a lot of work nationally, but we're based out of Oklahoma City, and we're going to have an office in Dallas. Just for the scope that we saw, again, we had 5 people contact us in a month. I mean, there was probably more. I mean, I would say at least, hundreds of companies probably compromised, and they probably didn't even know. So that's kind of what the remote workplace assessment's about. And then that's kind of it. It's kind of a short presentation, but I kind of get a lot at the end. I'm pretty more dynamic in question asking. So that's the end of my presentation. We have a few last things to say, and then we can go over some questions, because I feel like that's a little more dynamic. You guys can learn a lot from me, and I can learn a lot from you. So please feel free to ask questions, because I think that's how we can build a good understanding of security and pen testing, and how our services can help your company out as well. So, Chris, calling you in early.
Yeah, thanks, Donovan. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask a question or so.
Yeah.
I was wondering, we've been working together for a little while here, for a couple of years now, in doing this. And our last webinar, a couple of weeks ago, we did on our human security program, which is our internal thing where we're doing, training, and we're doing in-person town hall meetings, and we're doing phishing assessments and those kind of things. And then we tend to bring you guys in, for penetration tests, like the physical penetration test, right? The red teaming type of things. Why don't you share with, because the remote workplace assessments are good for this time, but as we're starting to get back to work, it may start fading, and people are going to want those things again, right? And so I'd like to just hear a little bit, maybe some of the jobs that we've worked together. Maybe you could share, some of the experience there. Oh, did we lose you?
Okay, I think I'm back.
Okay, there you are. So maybe you could share one of the experiences of some of the red team pen testing stuff that you guys have done with us.
Yeah. So I would talk about this before. One of my favorite things is so before we go into things to break into an environment, where there's different tactics you can use. One is typically you can use the strength of authority. My example from that would be, one time we were called into a bank, and the assessor, as the auditor involved, he was like, "Hey, I want you to walk in there, and I want you to just go behind behind a bank teller and just take over and just start typing." I was like, man, it sounds like I'm gonna get tased for sure. I don't like to be tased, so had to think of a way that didn't happen, which we didn't get tased, so that's a good idea. Is what we did, what's called the motion of authority. So what I did, I got this really cool badge that had my name on it, and it had an authority on it, of the assessor. And we walked in there and just waved our badge and said, "Hey, so and so," because we also knew who was going to work there. We went on LinkedIn to figure out who was working. We also found out their work schedule, because what they did, they posted on Facebook that they work at this X bank, and they have a great time, and they love working there. Plus, they were excited. Another client was excited because they had their ID, so they posted it to the internet and said, "Here, look at my badge, woo!" So we took that cool, new iPhone quality photo, recreated those badges, and we were able to go in there. We took over a bank. It was $1.3 billion in 3 minutes. Was it super nerving? Absolutely. But we did it. So kind of getting people kind of jarred out of their own, emotional is what we want to do. Again, another one, these are always great stories. We had this a client that I don't know if they had ever been breached before, but I knew that they were routinely doing physical pen tests. And I'd been told that, and I was like, man, this is going to be tough. So what we wanted to do, we wanted to kind of cause interesting conflict, also cause emotion, also demand authority. So we did a 3-person attack. So the way this works is, this building was like a circle when you walk in. It had 2 doors, and there was no one in the lobby. It was just a phone. I was like, okay, well, this is it's gonna be terrible. So what we did is, I found one of their officers on the internet. I had called in and said, "Hey, I'm here for the interview. When is so and so going to be available?" And the lady, again, we talked about this. Her name was we call her Iron Wall Pam, which that's not her name, but that's what we called her. And she's like, "Sorry, he's not here." And I was like, "That's great. I'm just going to come in anyway." So she's like, "He's not here. Don't come in." I was like, "Well, I got an interview. I have the letter," and she wanted me to send her the letter, so I just quickly made a letter and just put his name on it and just sent it to him. And she's like, "Well, he's not here, so I can't help you." So I went ahead and went in the building anyway and demanded my interview. What happened after that, because now she's dealing with me, and I'm like the troublemaker that doesn't understand you don't have a job here. Secondarily, I had one of my employees come in at the time and said, "Hey, I'm here. I need to talk to the attorney." So he's now taking the conversation over to the right, and he's like, "Yeah, I got a DUI, and I'm just here to meet the attorney." And they're like, "We don't have an attorney here." He's like, "Yeah, this is the building." And they're like, "No, he's on the 3rd floor." So he's like, "This is the 3rd floor." So he started arguing with them about how he needed to see the attorney. He didn't get thrown in jail. And then the 3rd person came in behind us, and he had a work order from the building. We went to the building maintenance website. We got Fred and Bob's name. So, if we need to talk to Fred and Bob, the maintenance company, that we were there to check sprinkler inspect, and he's waiting there. And he actually had a cast on his arm he's like, "I don't know. I'm hurt. Can you just please help me figure this out?" And I'm demanding the interview. The other guy's talking to his DUI attorney. And then she's just like, and wait, because we do the recording as we're in the engagement, and she just goes, she's like, what is happening today? Another employee's like, I've never seen this. And she's like, in my 20 years, she's like, I've never let anyone hear. There's no way you're getting through. And he's like, well, yeah, I'll just call Bob. Then I'll just have Bob handle it. And she's like, well, hang on, you can't do anything in here without being escorted. And we were like, uh-oh, we're going to get escorted. Well, what she did was she was in policy, so she just escorted people social engineering her through the facility. So we got someone to walk us through. It was nice. And we dropped duckies. We dropped them, one on the CFO's desk. He plugged it in because he thought it was his. And then Iron Wall Pam, people were turning them in because they thought they were lost. And she plugged it into her machine and was waiting on someone to reply that they were lost or stolen. So it was a good one. It was a full compromise, and everyone was actually pretty excited about it, and it was a good learning experience. So the next time we went back, because Pam was shut us down, we made her go to lunch. So so we wanted to see how the company would act after that. So definitely, we have a good time. I think that's probably the best for us. We take kind of real scenarios, we kind of mix it up, and I would say what really makes it is we get your report for sure, but having how we react to the conversation and what management sees, man, they love it, and it's been very successful. We really like that vertical. It's been very successful for us.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. And, in working with you guys, over a period of time and doing these kind of jobs, right? We have also been able to enhance our human security offering. As I was saying before, we do, phishing, and we do in-person, seminars, town halls with our guys. We do online training with all kinds of different modules available, from HR type modules to cybersecurity modules to just all kinds of different things. And this has really been able to enhance what we can bring to the table by partnering with you guys. And so I just wanted to kind of reinforce that better together. We do a lot of good work together, and even in ones where you guys have engaged first, right? Yeah. Then we're able to come in, and because yours is kind of a one-time engagement where you're going in there and you're infiltrating the environment and doing what you guys do best. And then the customers realize, oh, we need some help. We need some more ongoing help. We got to train our users. We got to get these guys understanding how to not let this happen next time, and that kind of thing. And so that's really where we can complement on your side as well, and be able to come in and now provide this ongoing kind of cadence of getting their people in a better spot.
Yeah, and that's something that, so Alias, we always talk about staying in our lane. We do security specific. We have our own SIM and IDS, but so if someone says, hey, I have a Cisco or a Palo Alto, it's kind of a good, I would say, balance for everything, considering FutureCom has all the technology, all the architectural build, a lot of that other security side, and we don't do. We're more of the security consulting service group. That way, it's kind of a good balance. So a lot of clients out there, even one of our competitors, what they do is they always not only sell the products, they also do the pen testing. And to me, some people can get away with that. I just feel like, how do you know if they set it up correctly? And I'm not saying they would do it maliciously. I would say, but how do you know, right? It's always good to have someone who doesn't work for the company check. So if company X sold you a Palo Alto and then they did a pen test, they'd be like, man, this thing is so locked down. It's like perfect. It's unbreakable, unbelievable. Maybe they do that, maybe they don't. But us having being that third party, again, we don't sell products. That's just, we don't do that because we feel like could be a conflict for us. And so we don't fly anyone's banner but our own. So it's been a great relationship, and I think a good balance and quality check for the clients we've engaged with.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. Okay, so I think some questions are coming in. I'm gonna go ahead and put the question thing up here. Just as a reminder, there's no audio video for you as an attendee, but we can get your questions through the Q&A. So if you just find the Q&A button, click on that, enter in any kind of question you have for either FutureCom or for Alias Forensics, and for Donovan, for me and my team, and just put those in there, and we will answer those live. If there's something that we can't answer for some reason, then we will come back to you guys and give you answers through some follow-up here. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Katie, and see if we can get some Q&A going. Katie? I think you're on mute, maybe.
Yep, I was. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. So we do have several questions coming in. I'll just go ahead and get started with the first one. With a large variety of external threat landscapes, like many different routers, for example, how are you doing a pen test of remote workplace? Are you requiring the people to provide you with their IPs?
Oh man, so that's a good question. So I prefer you not to, because I don't like it. I don't like people to give me information. So the answer is we do both. But if you can not give me the IPs, I think that's even better, because we can actually do an actual risk landscape, if you will, we'll use that term, for the business. We can tell you we can find, most likely we can find all your visible IPs, especially if you're a registered business. There's a few things that I have that are registered through Alias, and there's some that are not, just as a private entity. That way we don't get, no one knows it's associated with their company. So typically, no, I don't like it. Also, another thing is when we do pen tests, even externally or internally, I don't want credentials. A lot of companies they say they do pen testing, and you give them credentials and they're like, yeah, man, I'm totally in your entire environment. You've been owned. And you're like, but I gave you the username and password. And they're like, yeah. So I'll put that down as a vulnerability. And I'm like, so what we typically do is, so we do or you could call it like a black box kind of attack. We prefer that. I think that's more genuine. I think you get more value out of it. And then the credentials, which we do for some audit, some PCI stuff, does require us to do a credentialed scan. So for those, we only do that for when requested. But I wouldn't request that you don't give us, like, make it fun for us. My guys and myself, we like the challenge. So
yeah, I mean, you know, the reality is if you're not approaching it as a hacker, right? If you're not approaching it as a hacker who has no information other than what they can find online and all that kind of stuff, or social engineer their way into, then it's not very realistic of a test, right? I mean, the more information that's given means that the hacker would have already had to get you to give them that information, right? So yeah, definitely better when you can, you know, do your own reconnaissance, figure it all out and get in. That's a lot more practical. So yeah, good deal.
Great. Okay, our next question, another good question here. We don't know what we don't know. How can Alias Forensics or FutureCom help us determine what we need to be concerned about and design the right assessment for us? Great question.
Go ahead, Chris. I'll let you go first.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, if you don't know what you don't know, then that's a great place to start, right? Because you got to figure out what you need to, what it is that you don't know. So what we do is we come in and we can do an assessment of your entire environment, whether that is, you know, a security assessment, a network assessment, whatever it is. We provide the ability, we have consultants that will come in, interview your people, look at your policies and procedures, do gap analysis type of things. And then we can provide information that says, hey, here's where you have vulnerabilities, whether that's physical vulnerabilities or electronic vulnerabilities, or, you know, administrative vulnerabilities, whatever that looks like. We can provide that to you. And then from there, then we can talk about doing the testing against it, right? So we always recommend that if we can come in and assess your environment first, then, you know, before you do a test, then then you'll understand why some of the testing went as well. You know, some of our customers, they do that and then they say, oh, let me fix up my issues, right? And then they go fix them up, and then they say, okay, now come do a test against me and see how we fare, right? Because obviously, you know, if you've got weak security posture already, then it's going to be much easier for us to do our job and take you over. So
yeah.
Donovan, you got anything to add?
Yes, to add to that. So that, I swear, if that was a planned question, I appreciate that. I don't know who you are, but I say that all the time. Like you don't know what you don't know. Like everyone's like, well, we want to, you know, we're a security company and we protect you from everything. But I mean, you can only, as a client, give the person to attack only what you know. And what you probably know, you already know how to fix it. You just need, sometimes you need a third party to say, remember this person they've been asking for like the past 4 years? Well, per my recommendation, you guys need another person. And then it happens, right? I was kind of make fun of that. I've been in the corporate world before, I get it. But so what we do is, it's a full audit point. So what we do is we do a full scan. Why do we, and I say scan, we actually see how many devices on this network. Sometimes there's that one machine belonging to Bill that's been under his desk, and it's like, running Windows XP, and no one knows what it does. No one wants to touch it, but no one even knows that it was there. So we do a scan of what's available. We look like an audit scope. So we do that one. We also do vulnerability. We also do an inhuman conversation is what is the risk for your data? We talk to the leaders kind of in the organization. One company, we had a CPA firm that their main auditor was storing all their information in a USB stick that was in her desk. And it's like, hey, what if you get hit by a bus? Does anyone know it's there? She's like, nope. And I was like, well, what if this crashes and you're sick? So kind of evaluating what the risk is. People putting stuff in the cloud like Dropbox. A lot of people think that if their employees put data up there, like Donovan alias Forensics.com, that when they get terminated, they can go get that data when you can't, because that's not yours. It doesn't work like that. And also doing Active Directory audit. We love using Bloodhound to show you how quickly we can get domain access. So we kind of figure out your environment, whether you're assessing Palo Alto, Cisco ASAs, or Fortinets, how we would get into that. One of my other favorite ones is a lot of people implemented Carbon Black and they never changed their default setup. This wasn't FutureCom. This is another VAR that used this, actually one that was nationwide, and you would know the name. There was 4 clients they set up Carbon Black with, and they never changed the default credentials. So when we were doing the pen test, we got in, and then we just disabled the Carbon Black, and then we also pushed our malware through Carbon Black as an approved appliance. So yeah, kind of us getting in there. You always want to do the crawl, walk, run. So if you haven't ever done a pen test, I probably wouldn't recommend it out of the gate, because it won't be as beneficial if you did like an audit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So
it looks like we have a follow-up question from one of the earlier ones. And this is regarding the pen testing. So it says, I guess I meant all the workers are remote. So are you doing a pen test on the remote landscapes, like their houses? So I think that was kind of the intention of that question.
Okay, so on their houses, the answer is no, because that. Okay, I guess the answer would be it depends. So it wouldn't be their houses, because if they would have to connect to some type of firewall device to access company data. So whether that is the cloud, if we were going in the cloud, we would attack the IPs of that cloud service, or we would attack the internals, the firewall. I mean, working from home, if you're just like, maybe you use just Office 365 and you're using like Google Docs, the risk landscape it would be a little different. That would be more of a smaller kind of company thing. The scope, the risk there would be people social engineering you to click on stuff so they can take over your credentials. So what we'd probably do is check the company name, maybe check users if that's provided, and we would see if any credentials or any access had been leaked, or also any like titles and stuff like that we could provide. But again, that's kind of like a smaller shop, as opposed to a business like having access to the cloud, or even just your external IP address would what we would be attacking for that.
So more going after the business itself, and how people are connecting to the business as remote workers, not necessarily doing a security assessment against the remote workers or a pen test against the remote workers themselves.
Yeah, because also you got to know is since you're a user, your IP address would change, and it wouldn't be a solid pen test. I've never done that. I guess we could, but we'd more attack the business. I always say a lot of users are like, what about me? I was like, man, it's not about you. It's about the hackers taking over your company. They just use you to get to it. So that's kind of how that works.
Yeah, and I know one of the things that we've done since all this started, right, we've gotten calls about remote access issues and things like that. And we had kind of like what you were talking about, Donovan, where, right after all of the work from home started, then a bunch of people started getting hacked and stuff like that, right? Because now they've opened up their environment to the outside and they didn't do it right. So it makes much more sense to go after the company itself, to say, okay, you never did remote access before, or you did it very securely because you only had a handful of people that needed to have that access. And all of a sudden you said, oh, everybody's working from home. Hey, somebody go open up the stuff on the firewall so that they can get in, right? And they opened it up too wide, or they didn't do it properly, and then all of a sudden now they're hacked everywhere. We had a customer of ours that day two, somebody was, because not everybody has laptops and things as well that are work issued, right? So they all started using their home computers, and day two, one of the home computers had a malware on it. They VPN'd in properly to the secure VPN network to get in, but then their malware started spreading across the internal network. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh crap, now we're not stopping that. So, more likely, I mean, you're where the assessment needs to be done is on the company end, like you're talking about, not on the end user end. What we can do on the end user end is help you develop policy that says, hey, your end users need to have AV and malware detection on their device. They may have these things, and there's solutions out there that we carry as well that can do posture assessments of any machine that's connecting into the network that says, hey, before I let you just VPN in and you're all good from wherever computer and whatever, I'm going to run a posture assessment on you, see if you're safe, and then I'll let you in. Right. And so we have solutions at FutureCom to be able to provide to do that, to do just that thing. But again, that's focused on the company, even though what we're protecting the company from is that potential risk of the end user. That's still focused on the company. So, very few companies out there are going to say, okay, well, hey, we're going to send out laptops to every single person, and you have to use the company laptop in order to get in, right? If your company can afford that and do that, that's awesome, right? And then maybe we can assess those people at home, make sure they're good. But at this point, yeah, it really comes down to make sure the company's protected, whether they're coming from a company owned machine or from their own machine or whatever. And that's really what we're trying to accomplish with these kind of remote assessments. Katie,
Great, thank you guys. Yep, we've got another one here. It says, management has always felt that our internal assessments are enough. What assistance can be provided to help us show the C-levels the value of having outside expertise come in and perform these assessments?
Well, I would say this. So I would say that our team has performed, audits, hundreds. So, not saying that your team doesn't know what they're doing. That's exactly why you would hire them, because you respect their opinion, you appreciate it. I would say that's saying that everyone that works for your company is super happy and they really believe in the company and they never drop the ball and they're perfect, right? So it would be a disgruntled IT person. It would be someone not actually doing their job. It's kind of a health check, right? Third, it's also provides a third-party opinion, because when you get inside of a company, believe it or not, there's actually this thing called politics that is involved. And sometimes the network team hates the server team hates the network team, and no one talks to the help desk, right? Because they're on the bottom. So us having that insight from bottom up, we can tell you exactly what the real problems are from our professional opinion, not just doing it for your corporation, but doing it for hundreds. So us having that internet, that experience goes a long way. I used to work in a corporate world, and I feel like we did really good. We had some really good teams, but we weren't talented in everything, because when you work almost in a really good environment, even when I was an incident responder, it was, we checked in Palo Alto server. I'm like, if we got breached, I don't even know what it would look like. Why? Because everything's so clean, right? So having a third party come in and say, hey man, here's what this type of attack looks like. And does the Palo Altos pick it up? Does it not pick it up? I'm not picking on Palo Alto. I'm just saying, give you an example. If an attack did happen, would you even know what it looked like? Would you even know what to do? And how would that company react? Who's in charge? Who would actually take action from that? It's honestly been a good avenue. And also, in my opinion, it gives the IT middle management some strength when they go to the C-level team and say, hey, again, that extra person we've been looking for or needing, or this product is not only something we wanted, but also this third party also agrees with us. And it allows them to have a voice, because typically, obviously, when we do a contract deal, it's typically with a C-level person, and we have a direct line with him or her. And that way it just makes it also adds a lot of trust too. I'll throw that. I think that's one of the biggest wins is if the middle management or even the higher management is saying, hey, we need something, and I've been telling you this for a year or so much, whatever the budget, and this they hire a third party and they agree with the same thing. It adds a lot of trust there, and it builds a better relationship with the management vertical.
Yeah, and I'll just add, as a company who's done a lot of work with a whole lot of different companies and entities out there, right? From both sides, both us and Alias, right? We're used to talking to the C-level people and showing the value. So if you're having a hard time internally trying to sell it, if you will, because that's what you're trying to do, you're trying to sell it to the upper management that you need this. We've got the ammunition. So bring us in, let us help you. We can come in and provide, news stories and real life things that we've run into that will get the attention of those C-levels to say, okay, yeah, I don't want to end up in the newspaper. I don't want to end up, bankrupt. I don't want to end up out of a job because, we thought we were good because we were doing all these internal assessments, right? And it just didn't end up being enough. So let us help you by coming in and doing these things for you, because we tend to be, our experiences and what's happened tends to be a little more extensive than, maybe your internal people that are there at your company. Just because we've been around a lot, right? And we've seen a lot more companies, right? Like one of the things that I enjoy about my job as being a consultant, right, is I get to see so many different environments. And over the years, over my past, I'm not even gonna say how many years I've been doing this, years of experience, right? I've seen so many different customers' environments, and what works at one company is different at another company, and how you talk to a C-level at one company is different at another company. And we've got that kind of experience. So just feel free to reach out to us and say, hey, I understand I need an external test. I understand I need a red team. I understand I need this, but my management just doesn't see the value in it. Help me with the value, and we will come in and help you that way. Hope that answers that question.
All right, guys. It looks like we just have one last question. We only have a few minutes left. You mentioned in addition to assessments, do you have a SIM offering? What does that look like, and what benefits can you offer compared to us managing our own SIM?
So I guess the short, sweet, limited time is we have a product called SimArc. Runs on Elk Stack. It's our baby. We have full access to it. We created it because we helped implement a RSA tool at a $6 billion bank. They needed a new connector for a checkpoint firewall, and we went back to the vendor RSA, and they said it was going to be an additional $15,000, which they already paid $110,000. So we decided to start making this a little more easier and more adaptable for the client. We can put whatever you want in it. We don't charge for new rules and new tools. Again, we have access to it, and this may sound kind of silly, as we had a client who was kind of on the fence about it, an upper management. The team loved it. Technically, it was great, and the manager wasn't having it. So what we did is we changed the top logo to the company logo and changed the font, the color scheme to the client, and actually they ended up buying it because it matched the client and the world that they were in, the company. And it's fast. I can tell you that it's the fastest processor on the market right now, because we don't do one big box. We do a multi-tier. So if you need an indexer you don't have to buy a brand new box. We just throw in another slot and we expand it out that way, almost like we can expand it, or we can even decrease it. It's been great. I guess it's got a lot. We can do all types of, we do IDS in that. So we have IDS across your LAN. We can also feed those alerts in there. We can put it in the cloud. We can put it on-prem. So SimArc, you can buy outright. You can have it, take it all day. Our SimArc, you can have it and monitor it yourself, and we manage it, or we can manage and monitor it for you. So it's kind of like FutureCom, the balance. What do you want? What's best for you? We're not trying to get in anyone's, step on anyone's toes. So we let you kind of achieve what you want to achieve. It was your goal and your group. Hopefully
awesome. Thank you. Yeah. So it looks like we've answered all the questions. I do want to thank our presenters, Chris and Donovan, for their time today. If you do have any additional questions that come about, please feel free to reach out to your account manager here at FutureCom, and we will assist you moving forward with that. If you don't have an account manager currently, then definitely reach out to our customer care team, and the information will be sent in the follow-up email you should receive. I want to take a moment to remind you that our next webinar is scheduled for Friday, May 29th, and that's going to be with our friends at Keysight. They're going to be addressing visibility and monitoring the remote worker. To sign up for that, you can visit our website, or you can reach out to your account manager or use the same link that you used to sign up for this one. Without anything else, then I guess this concludes our webinar today. So I just want to tell everybody to stay safe and stay secure. And thank you, and have a great lunch.